There are always those teachers in school that everyone knows and admires. Well, I spoke with Miss Seifert, an Algebra 2 and AP Stats teacher at Ithaca High School, and also a teacher that I admire very much. Not only do I admire her, but all of her students love and admire her as well. She's a great teacher that can keep the class engaged in the day's lesson, and is also someone that students can talk to about anything. She gets along with all of her students and helps out in any way that she can.
I always wanted to do something in the legal system. I wanted to be a lawyer. My mother strongly discouraged that because I didn't like history in high school. So I think it's just, I've always had the desire to help people, which I think is why I ended up in teaching after I didn't get into the criminal justice program. So I was adopted when I was right from the hospital, like 5 days old. I've met my biological family, and I'm pretty confident that growing up in that household wouldn't have been as good for me as growing up in the household in which I was adopted into. Probably the biggest thing when I went to college the first time, when I was an actuarial science major, over winter break that year, over Christmas break, one of my best friends committed suicide, and that was really why the second semester didn't go so well for me, and I ended up dropping out of that and changing majors, and I mean that really changed the course of my life. I probably would have been an actuary if that hadn't happened. I think I would have continued to do well in school because I did well first semester, but second semester not so much. I'm satisfied with teaching. That's the part of the job I really love, is actually being in the classroom and the teaching part. All my interactions with the kids are great. That's the best part of the job, and I absolutely love doing that part. This year I'm doing the data coordinator job, so I'm actually the data coordinator for a math department. So I've been given a 2-period release for that. So I only teach 3 classes instead of 5. I will occasionally chaperone dances and things like that. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Lots of people come to me when they have problems with the copier or technical issues. So sometimes I solve technical problems.
Along with teaching high school students, she also teaches students at another venue that most people would find kind of an intimidating place.
I teach at Auburn Correctional Facility through the Cornell Prison Education Program. I've been doing that for 3 or 4 years now. I taught essentially AP statistics up there for 2 years. That ended up being a 2-semester class each time. And then I TA'd the basic math class last year for a semester. And then I'm also this semester just starting to teach the college algebra class up there. So I go up once a week. The classes run for about 2 hours. So we'll go through the gate at about 6:30, get walked back. The classrooms are on the far end of the facility, so you got to walk through the prison yard on the way in and on the way out, which is also kind of interesting. On the way in, the prison yard's empty, and you get back to the classrooms. The classrooms are very primitive. There's no technology, obviously. So you got chalkboards, maybe a whiteboard in some of the rooms. The classrooms are set up so that the top half of the walls are all glass. So there's a security guard, a correction officer out in the hallway at all times, and there's one down the other in the hallway in case anything goes wrong. There are panic buttons in the room, so if anything really goes wrong, you smack the panic button and the guys in the white shirts show up as opposed to the guys in the blue shirts. Which I've never had any problems whatsoever. I mean, I'm convinced that if anything happened, the biggest protectors would be the students in my class. So class will run from about 7 to 9 o'clock. The guys will start getting called back to their cell blocks. Lots of things can go wrong. Logistically, working in a prison is kind of a nightmare. I mean, it's not unusual to show up and either I'm not on the gate pass, which means I can't get into the facility, so I drive all the way up there and then I'm told to turn around and go home. Or we get all the way back to the school and it turns out the guys aren't on the call out for class, which means they're not allowed out of their cells to come to class. So then we have to be escorted back up to the front and we go home, and we've driven up there and spent all this time for nothing. That happens quite often. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But, it is what it is for working in prisons.